Evet. Sì, vai,
Ho quasi finito con le bianche.
Vous voulez un drapeau, madame? Laquelle?
Two and another one for my colleagues.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Which one? Vous voulez laquelle? Et à la collègue?
Thank No se ve aquí.
Será 25, 26. Con todos los viajes que acabo de hacer. Gracias. Se me manda la sonrisa cuando smile. Tout le monde sourit. Oui. Viva la papa. Tienen alguna foto también. Esta es la línea sólida. Empezaba a caminar y es un terror. Sí, 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 por suerte. Vida. Subito.
This is the Navy of Luxemburg. La conservatrice des ateliers.
Un grabado del siglo XVIII.
Which would be a nice remembrance of Luxembourg. And you are going to take the rose with the light. It's a great honor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Y la inevitable foto. Que tenemos.
So you can think of us and pray for us.
I will.
As we pray for you.
Monsignor, posso? Una medaglia. Questo per lei?
Si può.
La medaglia del viaggio.
Sì. Ah sì, che bonito.
Está en grande, está precioso.
Non c'è qui. Estos son los escritos que yo hice.
Qué maravilla, tú nos escribes.
¿Saben? Son las 7 encíclicas que yo hice. Y son muy útiles porque Cuando el escritorio balancea, meterlo debajo de la tapa y equilibrarlo. Ha capito.
Entiende muy bien el español. Ay, gracias.
Questa è la medaglia del
Sì, è
viaggio.
bonito, che meraviglia.
Merci à vous d'être là.
Esto es la cosa que decía ayer a mi marido,
In 1956, Kidney was given this race to my grandmother, who was the last person to receive the race. After that, it was only given to churches,
The last
marriages. It was
She was the last one.
recipients. We always have it very close to us and to our heart. It's really a wonderful moment for us that you came to our country. It's so important, as I told you a few years ago, it's important for the faith of Luxembourg and for the values that you spread throughout the world, which are absolutely so important for all of us. We have the tendency of becoming more and more materialistic and putting aside faith in the values of the spiritualism. And so the fact that you come here, I think it will give us boost to the people in Luxembourg, so that we really value.
Già intanto se riusciamo a coinvolgere un numero di persone online. Tanto siamo in 20 a farlo. Chi è che abbiamo visto? La Fioretti è lì.
Cardinale che c'era un battesimo sabato mattina. Molto tardi.
Hello again. So the third time today.
Understood?
Good to see you. Please, have a seat. It's warmer here than at the airport. It's a little bit cold waiting. But, yes. I saw the sun, the Pope would have brought the sun from Rome, but it was not really the case.
Yes, so Rome is still warm, but it's 18, 20 degrees.
Yeah. But welcome to Luxembourg. It's a great honor for us, of course, to welcome His Holiness the Pope, but also his delegation and you, and of course some of you we meet more often and regularly. So I think it's a good occasion to exchange a little bit views, especially as I am a new Prime Minister. I started in November last year, and so that, of course, like any new government, brings a little bit its new elements into the public debate, and so it's a pleasure also to deepen, therefore, the diplomatic relations with the Vatican during my term in office. So welcome again
Thank you.
to Luxembourg.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All the best for your mandate. Yes.
So,
After that, cammina. Poi bravo. Sai chi è andato? Tante volte. Just thinking that the Pope was going to come out after this week. I just came in with a few minutes ago. How long have you been sitting? Maybe before you went in?
Guys, something's moving. Papa Francesco!
Ah, ça c'est le printemps.
Ça, c'est la chaîne.
La spécialisation.
Voilà. Je suis dans le Parti chrétien-démocrate et donc c'est un grand plaisir de vous accueillir à Luxembourg et d'avoir vos bons conseils sur la façon dont nous devons gouverner. Parce que je trouve que la société est devenue complexe.
Only school taking extra learning.
Yeah.
Hello!
Only taking pictures of Kunyari, hindi ako tumitingin para hindi siya.
Laudetur Jesus Christus, praise be Jesus Christ. Welcome to the special live broadcast coming to you as Pope Francis is again on another apostolic journey. This time around, the Holy Father is visiting Luxembourg, and later he will travel to Belgium. Or those of us who are watching us on your screens, you can see the Pope just about to come out of his vehicle into this Grand Ducal Palace in Luxembourg. Pope Francis just recently actually returned from a successful 12-day apostolic journey to Southeast Asia and the Pacific. It was from the 2nd of September to the 13th of September, and one of the longest trips of his papacy took him to Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and East Timor, and then Singapore. Pope Francis is visiting Luxembourg and Belgium as a bearer of peace, given the war between Russia and Ukraine. I'm Father Paul Samasumo, and it is my privilege to bring you the English commentary and text of this broadcast. Those of you joining us for this broadcast of Pope Francis in Luxembourg, welcome. Greetings to our partner television and radio stations, EWTN TV, Catholic TV, Luxembourg Radio, Luminous Radio India, Atmadashan TV India, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom World Television Networks, Shalom TV in India, and also Sunday Shalom. If you are following us on Facebook, YouTube, welcome. And we also welcome our special shortwave listeners. The Vatican News has put out additional shortwave frequencies for this visit. Pope Francis is visiting Europe at a time when the continent is living in a difficult situation of war between Ukraine and Russia. The Holy Father will be in Luxembourg and Belgium from today, and then he will travel to Belgium until the 29th of September. While in Luxembourg, today the Pope will address a host of themes, including on peace, migration, climate change, and also the future of young people, as well as focusing on church issues, as he so often does. Luxembourg, officially the country which is a principality, is known as the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, or simply Luxembourg. It is a small country landlocked by Belgium, France, and Germany. Usually we hear of this country in connection with this being one of the capitals of Europe, of the European Union, and also as a banking and because of its banking and financial sector. The capital, many of its inhabitants are trilingual. They speak French, German, and also Luxembourgish. Pope Francis on your screens now still greeting some of the people who have lined up to meet him. But he is anytime now going to come out of the vehicle and to the beautiful palace, the Grand Ducal Palace of Luxembourg. One interesting thing with this visit is the logo of the visit to Luxembourg. It features a stylized image of Pope Francis blessing the country, and in the background we see the Notre Dame Cathedral of Luxembourg. The colors used are yellow and white. Those are the colors of the Vatican flag, the Vatican city-state. And then also there is blue there, alluding to the Marian veneration, which is quite deeply rooted in the history of these countries. The motto of the visit is Persevere, and it refers to Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve. This is something that we find in the scripture, I think in Matthew chapter 20. Thus the Holy Father is following in the example of his Master, the Lord, and is also reminding all of us, the church, that we are called to be at the service of humanity. If you are watching us on your screens right now, you can see the Grand Duke Henry and the Duchess there on the screen. And Pope Francis will soon enter he's going to enter this grand palace, magnificent palace, where he's going to address the various authorities of Luxembourg, members of the diplomatic corps, civil society, and also other cultural leaders. Pope Francis, we could say, is also following in the footsteps of John Paul II. John Paul II visited Luxembourg in 1985. And one of the things that the Holy See spokesperson, Matteo Bruni, recently alluded to on the issue is the one of the issue of secularization in Europe. That is something that has concerned the Holy Father, Pope Francis, and perhaps also the challenge of Christian witness in Europe, where Christianity is less and less practiced. So these are probably some of the things that the Holy Father, Pope Francis, will be speaking to the various authorities gathered here in Luxembourg. It is raining, and we can see everybody here with an umbrella, and but that is not putting a damper to any of these, and the people have nonetheless lined up the streets to catch a glimpse of Pope Francis. I was just saying that the position of the head of state is held by the Grand Duke Henry. The position of Grand Duke is actually largely a ceremonial one, and it has symbolic value in terms of unity for the nation. The current Duke Henry, whom we've just seen glimpses of in the picture, succeeded to the title of head of state of the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg in the year 2000 on the abduction of his father. Also, while he will be here at the Grand Duchy, at the Grand Palace, Ducal Palace, Pope Francis is being hosted by the Prime Minister, Luc Fredin. He is Luxembourg's Prime Minister since November 2023. Anytime now, Pope Francis will make his way to the Grand Ducal Palace to meet with Luxembourg's authorities, and everyone is already in that room, is already seated in the Cercle Cité. It's a special room, a hall, found in the magnificent palace of the Grand Ducal, located right in the city center of the old town of Luxembourg, as we have seen from around the pictures they are showing the shops which are surrounding the palace. I did say that the Pope will be hosted by the Prime Minister of Luxembourg, though he will be welcomed at the Grand Ducal Palace by the head of state, who is the Grand Duke Henry, and also present to welcome the Holy Father is the Mayor of Luxembourg. The Grand Duke and the Grand Duchess waiting for Francis, who has now just arrived in front of this palace, and they are going out to greet him and to welcome him. And we can hear, if you are following us on radio, the crowds there shouting their welcome to Pope Francis. Officially, the country of Luxembourg is known as the Duchy of Luxembourg, or simply Luxembourg. The Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, or simply Luxembourg. And Pope Francis on the wheelchair being wheeled to the room we think where the meeting is going to take place, at the Cercle Cité, very special room there with a lot of historical significance for this country. Pope Francis taking time to greet some of the people that are waiting for outside there in the rain, and no doubt expressing his great appreciation for their presence to welcome him here, notwithstanding the rain. Everyone is already seated in the Cercle Cité as Pope Francis makes entrance into the hall of this magnificent palace. We see there the flag surrounding the palace, the Grand Ducal Palace, located in the old town of Luxembourg. There is the hall where Pope Francis is going to meet the delegates, about 300 of them in Opio, more or less. Some of the cardinals, some of the bishops of this country, and also those of Pope Francis's delegation already seated and waiting for the Pope to arrive and and give his speech to the delegates who are waiting for him, or rather the leaders of Luxembourg. Pope Francis left Rome this morning, and he's already, as we have seen, already in the city. The bars there, people expectantly waiting for Pope Francis. It is actually a brief stopover, we would say, to this country. He will only be here for one day. And Luxembourg, as we know, is in the heart of Europe, and it contrasts sharply with the Pope's recent visit, 2 weeks visit, where he was away to Southeast Asia and Oceania for a total of 12 days. Some of the expectations of Pope Francis from the people, those that have been interviewed by Vatican, is that they expect that there will be a lot of joy, and we've seen some of that joy already in this Pope's arrival. Right now, the dignitaries taking their place ahead of Pope Francis, the Grand Duke and Duchess there on your screen. And Pope Francis making an entrance. So Pope Francis has arrived now at the stage where he will give his address to the leaders here waiting. But first, we expect that the Prime Minister, Luc Frédéric, will give some remarks and words of welcome to Pope Francis, welcoming him officially to Luxembourg. Silence and expectation as the Pope is now seated and everybody is taking their seat.
Très Saint-Père, c'est un immense honneur pour mes
Holy Father, it's a great honor for me, my fellow Luxembourgs, and I to welcome you today to the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg in your capacity as head of state, head of the Catholic Church, and moral authority recognized worldwide. This is your first visit to our country, 40 years after His Holiness Pope John Paul II, and we thank you with all our hearts. You are not only visiting the capital of Luxembourg, but also one of the three capitals of the European Union, a crossroads of choice for many Europeans. The presence here today of representatives of the European institutions and of the thousands of people from all over the world in the streets is a proof of this. Luxembourg is a country deeply committed to the principles of international law and a country whose history has been strongly influenced by the Judeo-Christian tradition and values. It is the country of St. Willibrord, a missionary and true European long before the European Union. He was appointed Bishop of Utrecht in the Netherlands prior to establishing himself in Luxembourg. Furthermore, he was at the origin of the Eternax Basilica, magnificent papal basilica, and his famous dancing processions, and recognized as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage. Of course, as we all know, the world, Europe, and our country have changed quite a bit since St. Willibrord's time, but what has not changed and must never change is the message of peace, of the love of one's neighbor, and human dignity, which is common to all religions and which all human beings, whether believers or not, should aspire to. The Luxembourg Constitution rightly proclaims as the first fundamental right the inviolability of human dignity. We must, each of us, constantly strive to ensure that this dignity is maintained. And I would like to thank here many of these volunteers who commit themselves every day in our country and in other countries to help the poorest of the most vulnerable. Our democracy and our society are all characterized by the freedom of conscience, the freedom to manifest or not one's philosophy or religion, beliefs, but also the freedom not to have any religion imposed upon one. As Prime Minister, I will always ensure that these fundamental principles underlying our democracy are safeguarded and maintained. While the relations between the church and state have evolved towards clearer separation, and while the secularization of our society cannot be disputed, religion does not exist outside the boundaries of society either. They are part of it and must continue in a spirit of mutual respect to the enrichment of the debates on ethical and societal environmental issues. Also, society cannot survive without values and principles. Neither is Luxembourg nor Europe a Europe that remains a project for peace and common values, and that needs to be defended continuously. Unfortunately, the war and international conflicts we are witnessing in numerous countries are at odds with these great principles. It is our duty as political representatives to strive every day, here and everywhere in the world, for peace, democracy, human rights, and the respect for international law. We are delighted to welcome you and to listen to your words here in Luxembourg, in this very room, which hosted 70 years ago the first hearing of the Court of Justice of the European Coal and Steel Community, the forerunner of today's European Union, and the starting point of a peace project unprecedented in world history. Thank you, Your Holiness, for the honor you do Luxembourg by coming here to share your message with us. Thank you. So that is the Prime Minister of Luxembourg officially welcoming Pope Francis, Luc Frédérine. Welcome Pope Francis to Luxembourg. And now Pope Francis will address the leaders.
Altezze Reali, Signor Primo Ministro,
Your Royal Highness, Mr. Prime Minister, distinguished representatives of civil society, esteemed members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen, Eminences, that's the cardinals, I am pleased to make this visit to the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, and I thank Your Royal Highness and the Prime Minister most sincerely for the cordial expressions of welcome you have extended to me. Thank you also for your welcome with your family. Because of its particular geographical location on the border of different linguistic and cultural areas, Luxembourg has frequently found itself at the crossroads of Europe's most significant historical events. Twice in the first half of the last century, it had to elude invasions, to endure invasions, and the deprivation of its freedom and independence. Since the end of the Second World War, your country has drawn upon its history and distinguished itself in its commitment to building a united and fraternal Europe in which each country, be it large or small, might have its own role, and where the divisions, quarrels, wars, and that have caused by exaggerated forms of nationalism and pernicious ideologies may finally be left behind. It must also be acknowledged that when the logic of confrontation and violent opposition prevails, the areas on the borders between the conflicting powers end up being heavily involved against their will. Yet, when they finally rediscover the ways of wisdom and opposition is replaced by cooperation, then those same areas on the borders become best places, and not merely symbolically, for identifying the needs of a new era of peace and the paths to follow. Indeed, Luxembourg is not an exception to this principle, for it was the founding member of the European Union and its predecessor communities. It is likewise home to numerous European institutions, including the European Court of Justice, the European Union, the European Court of Auditions, and the European Investment Bank. Let us never forget that war is always a defeat. And Luxembourg has a history of making peace. It is sad today that a European country,
Gli investimenti che danno più reddito sono quelli delle fabbriche delle armi.
the most profitable investment today is war, unfortunately.
A sua volta, la solida struttura democratica
Moreover,
del
the
nostro
solid
paese,
democratic
che ha a cuore
structure
la dignità della persona
of your
umana
country,
e la
which
difesa
cherishes
della
the
libertà
dignity of the human person
è la premessa
and the defense
indispensabile
of
per un ruolo
fundamental
così
freedom,
significativo
has
nel
been
contesto
essential
continentale.
in allowing Luxembourg
Infatti,
to play
non è
such a
l'estensione del
significant role
territorio
in the
una delle
continent's
tanti
context.
condizioni
Indeed,
indispensabili perché
it
uno
is not
Stato
the
svolga
size of the
un
territory nor
importante
the number
sul
of the
piano
inside inhabitants
istituzionale,
that serve as
ma
an
che possa
indispensable
diventare un
condition
centro
for a
di
state to
transito
play
a
an
livello
important
economico
part
e
in the
finanziario.
international stage,
Lo è invece
or for
la
it to
paziente
become an economic
costruzione
financial
istituzioni
nerve
delle
center.
necessarie
Instead, it is the
necessarie
patient
nei
creation
quali
of wise
disciplinare
institutions and
la
laws by
cittadini
which
secondo criteri di
by
equità
regulating the lives
nel
of
rispetto
citizens
dello Stato di
according
diritto
to the
pongono
criteria
al
of
centro la
fairness
persona
and respect for
e
the
il
rule of
bene
law,
comune,
place the person
prevenendo
and the
e
common good
contrastando
at
i
the
pericoli
center,
di discriminazione
preventing and
e di
counteracting
esclusione.
the dangers of discrimination and exclusion.
Lussemburgo, un paese di porte aperte,
Luxembourg
una
has
bella testimonianza
open
di non
doors.
discriminazione
It
e
is
non
a good
esclusione.
witness
A
against
questo proposito,
against
in nome delle
discrimination.
quali le parole pronunciate
In this
da
way,
San
in
Giovanni
this
Paolo
regard,
II
the words spoken by
nel
John Paul II on the visit to
1985
Luxembourg in 1985 are still relevant.
il vostro
Your
paese
country,
resta
at this
fedele
important
alla sua
crossroads of
vocazione
culture,
di
remains
essere
faithful
questo
to its
importante
vocation to
flusso
be
di
a place
civiltà,
of
un
intense
luogo di
exchanges
scambi
and
e di
cooperation
cooperazione
between
intensa tra
even
un numero sempre
an ever
maggiore
increasing
di
number of
paesi.
countries. I
Auspico
fervently hope that
ardentemente
this desire
che
for
questa volontà di
solidarity will
solidarietà
increasingly
sempre più le comunità
unite
nazionali e si
national
estenda a
communities
tutte le nazioni del
and
mondo.
extend to all the nations of the world, especially the poorest.
Fin della citazione. Nel fare mie tali
In
affermazioni,
making these affirmations my own, I especially renew my call for the establishment of the fraternal relations between people so that all may become participants and protagonists in an organized process of integral development. The Church social doctrine highlights the characteristics of such progress and the ways for achieving it. For my part, I have been following the path of the teachings by expanding and explaining two major themes: care for creation and fraternity. Indeed, for development to be authentic and integral, we must not plunder or degrade our common home. Likewise, we must never abandon people or social groups on the margins. We are all brothers. Let us not forget that having wealth includes responsibility. Thus, I ask for constant vigilance so that the most disadvantaged nations will not be neglected and that they may be helped to rise from their impoverished conditions. This is one way to ensure a decrease in the number of those forced to immigrate, often in inhuman and dangerous conditions. Luxembourg, with its particular history and its equally particular geographical location, with just under half of its inhabitants coming from other parts of Europe and the wider world, may Luxembourg be a help and extremely example in pointing the way to follow in welcoming and integrating migrants and refugees. Unfortunately, we are seeing the re-emergence, even on the European continent, of rifts and enmities, instead of being resolved on the basis of mutual goodwill, negotiation, and diplomatic efforts, are resulting in open hostilities leading to destructive and death. It seems that the human heart does not always remember the past and periodically goes astray and returns to the tragic path of war. We have no memory at all. To heal this dangerous syndrome, which causes nations to become seriously ill and risk throwing themselves into exploits that bring with them intense human costs and further useless massacres, we need to raise our gaze upwards. We also need the daily lives of people and their leaders to be motivated by noble and profound spiritual values. This will prevent reason from succumbing to foolishness or our lapsing into making the same mistakes of the past, mistakes made even worse by the greater technological power that human beings now possess.
Della capacità di fare l'amicizia e evitare queste strade. Io dirò è una delle vostre vocazioni.
I would like to say that one of your vocations is to help the world achieve peace. As the successor of the Apostle Peter, and on behalf of the Church, which is an expert in humanity, I'm here to testify that the gospel is the life source and the ever-fresh force of personal and social renewal. It is the gospel of Jesus alone that is capable of profound transforming the human soul and making it capable of doing good even in the most difficult situations or exaggerated. And making it capable of doing good even in the most difficult situations of extinguishing hatred and reconciling parties engaged in conflict. May everyone, every man, every woman in full freedom know the gospel of Jesus, who has reconciled God and humanity in his person, and also knowing what is the human heart and what is in the human heart and can heal the wounds. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, Luxembourg can show everyone the advantages of peace as opposed to the horrors of war, of the integration and promotion of migrants as opposed to their segregation, the benefits of cooperation between nations as opposed to the harmful consequences. Give them a place in your society. The benefits of cooperation between nations as opposed to the harmful consequences of hardening positions and the selfish and short-sightedness or even violence pursuit of one's interests. Allow me to add one thing. The percentage of the birth rate. More children. That is our future. I won't say more children and less dogs. That I say in Italy. Indeed, there is an urgent need for those in authority to engage resolutely and patiently in honest negotiation in order to resolve differences together with the willingness to find honorable compromises which undermine nothing and can instead build security and peace for all. Pour servir. to serve. This is the motto of my visit here, and it refers directly to the mission of the church, which Christ the Lord, who became a servant, sent into the world as the Father had sent him. Please also remember that for all of us, this call to serve is the highest title of nobility. And it is also a principal task, the way of life to be followed each day. May God enable you always to serve with a joyful and generous heart. Work for those who have faith, work for their country, for their brothers and sisters. This is the way, this is the path. Always for the common good. May Mary Muta Jesus, Consolatrix Afflictorum, Patronum Civitatis of Luxembourg, watch over Luxembourg and the world, and obtain from Jesus, her Son, peace and every good. May God bless Luxembourg. There you have it, an earnest appeal from Pope Francis to Luxembourg to play its role as the light for peace in the world. And Pope Francis ending his speech asking Our Lady to bless this country. So Pope Francis just addressed the leaders and authorities in Luxembourg, and it was a heartfelt plea for peace and wishing for Luxembourg to always play a role of being the center of peace. Luxembourg was also at the center of the creation of the European Union, and Pope Francis once again calling on this nation to rise to its vocation of always being at the center of reconciling and bringing people together. When Pope Francis arrived at the Grand Ducal Palace, he went to sign the book for visitors, and I just saw what he wrote there: care for human dignity for all, the common good, dialogue, and international collaborations. These are the things that make nations great, wrote Pope Francis. The Holy Father now is leaving the stage and taking his leave. To much applause, and everyone is grateful for his words of encouragement, and going towards some of the people, some of the dignitaries, waving at them and thanking them with gestures, as the royal delegation and the Prime Minister's delegation also follow him. Pope Francis meeting some of the dignitaries. Of this country. I was just saying that Pope Francis wrote in the book on visitors that care for humanity, care for the dignity of all, the common good, dialogue, and international collaboration. These are the things that make great nations, wrote Pope Francis. As he leaves this Cercle Cité, it's a historical hall, and positions himself outside, stopping also at the Salle Flamande for the signing of the Book of Honor. The Salle Flamande is also one of the most important rooms in this magnificent Grand Ducal Palace. Most interesting, what struck me as Pope Francis was giving his speech was how he told the leaders of Luxembourg that it is not the size or the territory of a nation or the number of its inhabitants that make a nation important or great. We know that actually Luxembourg does play an oversized role on the international stage, especially in terms of finance and the economy. I thought also there was a message there for Europe that the most disadvantaged nations should never be neglected. And of course, Pope Francis also speaking about care for our common home, the earth, and another message of his, which is always re-echoed wherever he goes, a message of solidarity. That also came through in his speech when he was speaking to the leaders and authorities, members of the diplomatic corps, cultural leaders, and civic leaders. But he did also go off script to remind the world about the dangers of war and decrying the fact that as human beings we are too forgetful and we easily forget the horrors of the past, and that's why we quickly go and engage into war. The Grand Duke Henry there, the Prime Minister, Pope Francis is still writing something there outside the Sala Flamande. He is writing a few words in the book of honors. After this, Pope Francis will take leave and he will continue with the rest of the program. This afternoon he is scheduled to visit, he is scheduled to meet the Christians of this country, the Catholics rather, the Catholic faithful of this country. It's a one-day visit, then he will leave to go to Belgium to continue on his visit. The 46th visit of his papacy outside the Vatican. And I was just saying earlier on when we began the transmission how literally a few days ago, from the 2nd of September to the 13th of September, Pope Francis visited Asia, South Asia countries, that is Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and also Singapore. That's Asia and the Pacific. And in no time he's yet off. He's here on another visit, an international visit. Pope Francis in joyful spirits there. He has finished writing in the Book of Honors. I was only saying that it is really amazing how even at the age of 87, Pope Francis still gets about, and he, in spite of problems with mobility, he is in good spirits and he carries on with a punishing schedule. We saw him when he went to Asia continuously for 12 days. He was meeting people, shaking hands, giving speeches, visiting communities, and really in great spirits. And now Pope Francis taking his leave, which is also brings us to the end of this transmission. Remember to join us in the afternoon when Pope Francis meets Luxembourg's Catholic community. We will also be bringing you that broadcast. My name is Father Paul Samasumo, and I would like to leave you with these pictures of the crowds waiting for Pope Francis outside. It has stopped raining outside, and we can see the smiles, and we don't see anymore the umbrellas that we saw earlier on when Pope Francis arrived. On behalf of Vatican News, thank you all who have made this transmission possible. Do visit our website, vaticannews.va. Thank you to our partner television and radio stations of EWT and television, Catholic TV, Luminous Radio India at Madashan TV India, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom World Television Networks, Shalom TV India, and Sundays Shalom. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening wherever you are. Praise be Jesus Christ. Laudetur Jesus Christus.
Luxemburgo.